Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to League Racing TV for round one of the first season of the Esports Masters League Formula 1 Championship. My name is Aidan Carter, otherwise known as Carmensis. I'll be taking you through proceedings in this new championship on a Wednesday evening, and joining me in the commentary box for the full season is a good friend of mine, a close commentator of mine as well, and someone who's commentated in League Racing TV a number of times before. It is Daka230. Daka, how are you doing this evening?
Thank you very much, Aidan. I think that's the first time you've ever got my new name right, so I appreciate that. Good evening, everyone, and yes, I'm sure that we have a fantastic night of racing ahead of you. Of course, the inaugural event of EML Formula 1, the Drivers' Championship. Of course, a bit of a far cry for the Teams' Championship in EML, but I'm sure it is going to be just the same spectacle. This is, of course, built on it being a no-assist league, so every single driver in the league is running no assist, so it's going to be the hardest challenge that you're going to see. So it should be absolutely enthralling to watch. We've got a full grid of 20 drivers to take on the first race of the season here at Albert Park. So, with a full season ahead of us then, the calendar, I believe, stretching 10 races in length. So it's going to be absolutely fascinating. We've got a long season ahead of us, and I'm sure the action out on track is going to be electric yet again.
It really is going to be electric, and like you say, as Daka mentioned, it is going to be a no-assist league. That is why we are running under the Esports Masters League name instead of the regular TTML that you would see on this channel. So something a little bit more difficult for these drivers, a bit more of a Premier Division, this one. That is what sets it apart from the different leagues that we've got on the League Racing TV channel at the moment. So that is going to be something to look out for these guys, running absolutely no assists throughout this entire season. The Canada, like Dan said as well, is going to be stretching across 10 races for this entire season. We're obviously here at Melbourne for the first round of the season. We'll be heading to Bahrain this time next week. So unlike the Teams Championship, we'll be running on a weekly basis. Obviously there will be week breaks in between when the team races are on a Wednesday evening, but we will be running every Wednesday from here on out for the rest of the season. So that is going to be something for you guys to look forward to for the rest of the season. Before we get going then for the short qualifying session, we're just going to quickly run you through what the teams are looking like for this championship. Obviously, with it being a single drivers league, there's not really any team separation here. It is more about just single drivers and their aspirations for the championship alone, without the teams in this one. So looking at the driver lineup inside the Mercedes car for the season, we've got TTG Venom alongside LR Amazing Hour. In the Ferrari, we've got F1R Verderana alongside TTG Vettel. We've got XL Neo and XL Zalama, two XL drivers in the Red Bull. We've got SAL Stay Calm and Scott Bugner in the McLaren. In the Racing Point, we've got Kriza and we've got CPI Casper. In the Alfa Romeo, we've got TTG Jurassic and TTG Killua. In the Renault, we've got FRO Young Power and LR Andreas. In the Haas, we have Faxland and Neymar. In the AlphaTauri, we have Coutinho and TexFX Pro. And in the Williams, we have M Short and Cometa Lars. And we've got three reserves for the full season. We've got Vax Viking Maze and Foxy Red. And I believe we do have a new reserve here today in MNT Hercules. So a few drivers to look out for in this championship. And before we get into qualifying, who stands out to you, Dan, as a real threat for this championship?
Well, it's very hard to say, because, quite simply, I'm not too familiar with a lot of these drivers, and we haven't seen a lot of them on track together going at it. But I think the driver that really stands out to me has to be Amazing Hour. I think his success, first of all, as well, being a very high-performing driver in TTML D1, and also in the EML Premier Division, I think also he may well stand out as a favourite. But we have a hugely competitive grid and a lot of drivers that could really shine. So keep an eye out for everyone. This qualifying session at first is going to be really unpredictable, and we're going to get our first indication of how these guys all measure up and perform out there on the circuit.
We definitely are, and I think that's someone that stands out to me as well. Amazing Hour. This is going to be, I think, the first time I'm going to commentate over Amazing Hour in this in League Racing at all, but he has really stood out in many other championships in League Racing TV. Like you say, the Premier Division of the Teams Championship, he has shone fully on his racing. Another person that has shone, though, in the League 1 division of the championship, you've got to say has been M Short, really, hasn't he, for the XL team. He has shone massively in that second division, so he could be another one maybe to look out for in this championship.
Oh yes, certainly. He has had some very dominant drives in that League 1 championship, and also in other leagues as well. I've seen him being very successful, so expect M Short as well to be quick off the mark. We'll see how we go, and actually M Short is the first car out on track, so he's going to be the first indication of where everyone stands, and the car immediately behind him on the track is the other driver that we've tipped amazing error, so that should be a good indication of how these guys are going at it relative to each other. But don't count out any driver on this grid. It should be very, very competitive out there. We'll see how it's going to unfold, but I think that M Short will be the first driver round. Of course, it's Albert Park circuit, 16 corners, fairly medium length, about an 80-second lap or so. And so the driver is going to have to be on their A game, because qualifying here is so important, because it is characteristically, in both real life and on the game, a very difficult track to make overtakes at.
It really is. One of the more vital qualifying sessions of the season, this one could be. It is a real tough ask to get this track absolutely nailed as well. So many corners where you can run wide and invalidate. So we're going to ride on board with M Short for the first lap in qualifying here at Melbourne. So let's see what he can do as he heads down towards turn 1. A little bit of a dip in the track in the braking zone as he heads towards the apex of the corner. Nice and neat through turn 1 and through turn 2 as well. Down the second of 3 DRS zones on this track. Down towards the braking zone of turn 3. The heaviest braking zone on the track and the most likely overtaking opportunity. Bit of a lock up there from M Short, but gets the car stopped nicely. Through 4, doesn't touch the curb on the inside line, and now through the kink of 5. You don't want to hit the curb on the inside of that corner. You can really unsettle the car as he heads towards turn 6 and turn 7, which is going to be reprofiled in the near future for this track in real life. Through turn 8, an easy flat out corner. Towards turn 9 and 10, this could be one of the last times we see turn 9 and 10 like this in the future as well. This corner is likely to be reprofiled in the near future. Through 10 and then down towards the 11 and 12 chicane, another area of the track that could be reprofiled in the future. Very, very fast chicane, this one down into 7th gear, but he invalidates on the inside of the corner there, turned in very early. He's continuing on the lap, I think just trying to set a representative banker time that he can base himself off of down towards turn 13 at the end of the 3rd DRS zone, and then into the final sector. It slows down the further into the sector we go. Someone's in the gravel on the outside of the corner there at turn 14. I think that might have been Vax Viking off the road, and now through 15 and then into turn 16, the last corner. Really have to wait to get on the throttle. Doesn't use a lot of the road on the exit of the corner. Up to the line, it is invalidated unfortunately, but the first lap in the session is a 19.4 from the Williams man. Behind him on the road, I can't quite see where Amazing Hour is on the road. We'll wait and see what he can do in the Mercedes. Kreezer's gone on to provisional pole with a 19.7, and Amazing Hour's also invalidated, so he's into the pit lane. Neymar does a 21.7. That's not a representative time, and there's a lot of cars in close proximity in that final part of the lap, so I'm wondering whether a lot of people are getting caught out by traffic.
Yeah, you can see how bunched up it is there. Just by the mat, there's Venoms goes top. And Venom was another driver that I was thinking of then. Both of those Mercedes guys are going to be dangerous this season. And Venoms, that's a good lap off the mark at 119.4. But there's still an awful lot of lap times to come in this opening phase of the session. Behind on the track then, we got Lars coming out the final corner. It was pretty quick, going throughout that middle sector to the lane, goes fastest on a 119.3. So we're seeing those times already beginning to eke their way downwards, and you're going to see some times coming in soon. The Haas off backside over the line as a 20.3 up at the top, pretty close, but Lars is leading the way as it stands. A lot of lap times to come in, but these drivers are trying to get acclimatised. Of course, a difficult challenge, no one with any assist, it's just raw driving, and Lars going to the top and pressing on a 19.3, but with only 8 times left in the set so far in the session. There's an awful lot of improvement for almost the entire grid, I suspect.
Yes, Neo goes P3 in the Red Bull. His Red Bull teammate Zaudem crosses the line, goes P4, just 0.02 of a second behind his teammates. So good start to qualifying for the XL drivers in that Red Bull team. We've got more drivers coming around the lap. That was Cruiser just coming into the pit lane. I believe we've got one of the Renaults coming around to finish the lap. That might be Andreas. Now Andreas is invalidated in the middle part of the lap. So that is Foxy Red heading his way back into the pit lane. CPI Casper currently out on the track on a set of medium compound tyres. We'll see what he can do. He's actually invalidated, but he's continuing to push on this lap. See what the time would have been. It would have been a 21 flat, so that would have only put him 10th on the grid for the time being. Behind him on the road, Hercules has just crossed the line and gone 9th, I think. Or was that someone else that's gone up a bit further? I think actually, sorry, that was Vettel on his second lap on the set of soft tyres. Has gone into P3 in that Ferrari. So that's a good lap time, considering how high the degradation is for the soft tyres around this track.
Yeah, and also noting, I was on board with him, and he seemed to lose the rear end coming off of that last corner just as I went on to him. So clearly, there's a lot more time in that lap as well. So Vettel pressing early on for Ferrari and putting himself up into the mix. But Lars seems to be in front after the first run.
Ooh.
That's going into turn 5, and he must have dropped it on the exit at 4. You can see that straight in the wall. As I was just watching Andreas go past him then, there's nothing you can do. You get on that curb, lose the rear end, and you're just headed straight for the wall. If you're lucky, you can stay in the session, but unfortunately, Killer are not that fortunate. And after a first run that wasn't representative, it's worked against him, and he's going to start so far down the field. That is a major disadvantage here at Albert Park.
That is such a shame, especially on those medium compound tyres. It's so easy to do around this track, so easy to lose the rear of the car, especially with the new format we have on these games of the new kind of track model we have for street circuits. It makes circuits like this very slippery. Just watching Jurassic on a lap in the second Alfa Romeo car, he would have had a very strong middle part of the lap. It would have easily put him onto provisional pole, but he's another one that's invalidated on the inside of turn 11, so a lot of drivers getting caught out by turning in too early to the first part of the chicane. I think Amazing Hour is now on a lap in the Mercedes on his second run in qualifying, so we'll see what he can do in the middle part of the lap. It's a 47.6, that's about a tenth up on what Lars is doing at that point in the lap. Oh, a really big snap on the exit of the corner there from the Mercedes, but he just about holds it together, so let's see what he can do for the final part of the lap. His current teammate, second on the grid, less than a tenth of a second off of pole position. Can he put himself onto the front row? Amazing Hour as he comes through 14 and then into the braking zone of turn 15. Nice and neat on the brakes there. Doesn't use all of the road. He wants to get to the left-hand side of the track as quickly as he can for the run through turn 16. Down the pit straight. Where is Mercedes going to go? It's an 18.9. Wow, what a final sector from Amazing Hour. Puts him comfortably at the front of the field, and that is exactly what we were expecting from the Mercedes driver.
That is emphatic from LR Amazing Hour, showing his class then over 3/10 clear. Now it's up to the rest of the field to try and match that, try to get up towards him. Back spiking is behind on the track, but you can see he's a little bit down, maybe not getting the best lap in. Crosses only 13, probably has a fair bit of time in that then. I think Benham's coming over. He's just starting a flying lap as it stands. And so everyone's sort of gearing up. M Short's come through, and I think M Short is going to be worth a watch here on this lap. Looks fairly impressive for the first two sectors before, but ultimately, of course, that invalidation really costing him dearly. So we'll keep an eye on the Williams, keep an eye as well. And any more times coming in, but we'll get a little run through the lap then with M Short 17 onto the brakes. And in turn 3, short shifting into that fourth gear, then hold it fourth, going through turn 4, short shift to fifth on the exit, gets some nice neat traction, easy flat then. Going through 5, now preparing yourself for the middle sector. You're going to be on the brakes. 26.1 is slightly quicker, I think, than Amazing Hour during that first sector. So he has got some speed in there. We'll see if he can keep this going. Now you prepare yourself for turn 9. Exit off this corner. So critical here. Going to run it onto the curb, not too far over it. Make sure you're keeping the momentum flowing, because now you're on the throttle again. Heading into the third sector, beginning at the brilliant turn 11 at 12 complex. It's quick to the middle sector, but he's a little bit offline going through 11. So he's got to try and wrestle it back onto it then. Maybe slightly down on Amazing Hour, but he's at least looking at a front row start. I'm not sure who that was. I think I saw someone improving. Not sure exactly who that would have been, but M Short still pushing throughout then. And at turn 14, apex speed critical here. Moving on to the outside curve, back to the right hand side of the track. For the last two corners, slightly low cut, pushing him a bit wide. Then opening up the final turn. Use as much of the track, as much confidence as you need to. And here comes M Short. No time at the moment. Puts himself onto the front row. Better from M Short. Right up there, and it's him and Amazing Hour up front, and Venom I think improved as well, so he went up into third place, and Mercedes drivers really coming on strong. M Short just splitting it, but these three at the moment with a decent enough advantage, clear at the front of the field as it stands.
Definitely. The one thing to look here though, looking at the end of that lap, Amazing Hour and M Short were level on time going into the final sector. That final sector from Amazing Hour on his lap was stunning. 0.2 of a second faster than what M Short managed. M Short did have a lockup into 15, so that may be an area he can improve on. So we'll see in the third runs in qualifying if he can get up the front. Venom only 4 thousandths off in the second Mercedes, and like you say, they are the three at the front at the moment. Lars on his second lap now, trying to see if he can get back up onto the front row, the second of the Williams in fourth place, and he does a 26.1 in the first sector as well. Very strong first sector from the Williams man. Watching through the rest of the lap, the driver you saw improving earlier on, by the way, was Verderana, going up into 11th place on a 20 flat in the Ferrari. Here comes Cometa Lars then into the end of the second sector, looking for a 0.6 to be competitive, and it is a 0.6, a 47.619. That is right up there with his teammate through the middle part of the lap. Now coming to the end of the lap, he was much more committed through 11 and 12. Nailed the apex nicely. A little bit of grass on the left-hand side of the track there before turn 13. Doesn't seem to affect him though as he comes into turn 14, again clipping the grass on the way into the corner, but it's not affecting him too much. Into turn 15, gets the car stopped really nicely, and now through the final corner, can he put himself back in front of his Williams teammate? currently 4th on the grid on a 19.3. He comes up to the line, and it's an 18.995. A second driver into the 18s misses out on provisional pole by the smallest of margins, just over 200ths of a second. That is absolutely brilliant stuff from Lars to go ahead of his teammate and into the 18s.
That last sector was so committed from Lars, and he puts himself into the mix. Makes a real case for himself so far. Mercedes and Williams up the front of the grid then, and performing at the top. And again, up to the other teams to try and improve then. Shirazi went up into 5th position then. He also did a pretty solid lap then on a 19.3, and it seems like we're going to see a lot of drivers pushing towards at least those low 19s if you want a good spot on the grid, which, as we have stressed so far throughout the session, is so critical here. We're in a little bit of a down period in the session. I think Amazing Hour might just be on a lap behind. I'm trying to find anyone else on the flyer, but it seems to be a bit quiet. But the Aussie at his home race, continuing to push on. He has just a 100th and a bit at the front. He'll be looking to extend that at the front, but he's spinning a huge first sector then. He is flying at the moment, looking to extend that provisional pole.
That is an amazing first sector. He was nearly in the 25s in the first sector. That is an amazing time. Nearly 2/10 up in that sector alone. Let's see if we can sustain that through the rest of the lap. Look for maybe a 46.4 in the middle part of the lap. If he can sustain that amount of speed. Sorry, 47.4, and it is a 47.4. He's finding even more time. He's now over 2/10 up. But he invalidates on the inside of turn 12. That is such a shame. He's going to continue on this lap, so it'll be nice to see what the time would have been if it was valid. But even so, what a marker this lap time could have been from Amazing Hour. As he comes to the end of the lap, he has backed off just before turn 15, unfortunately, so we won't get to see the end of that run. He's coming in for his final set of soft tyres, so he can give himself enough time for another run. But my word, those first two sectors, absolutely stunning. I don't think he put a foot wrong really anywhere in those sectors. Scott Bugner on a lap in the McLaren, meanwhile, comes up to cross the line, and he goes P10 on a 19.9, finds nearly a second on that run, so he found a lot of time. Kreese is currently on a lap, having set a good time earlier on in the session, hasn't really been able to improve since then. Currently 9th on the grid on a 19.7. He's coming towards the end of the lap. His teammate Casper has just started his first run on a set of soft tyres. We'll see what he can do. They're currently down in 19th with no time on the board. Kreese then round the final corner, 9th on the grid at the moment. Can he get himself up into that top 5? He goes P7 on a 19.6, finds a 10th and a half. Good time there, puts himself ahead of both of the Red Bull drivers, as Andreas now goes P5 in the Renault from the back of the field, having not set a time, a 19.1. That's a stunning lap time for the Renault driver.
It's a good statement as well, putting him very close to even P3 on the grid, that are threatening that second row. So that is a good old lap time from Andreas. We can see if he continues to push that forward towards the end of the session. Casper now is out there. We're going to get a first real indication of the Racing Point space. As I say that, he just invalidates again at turn 12. That turn 11-12 complex is catching so many drivers out, as it so often does. Not only is it very possible that you can bend it on the exit then, but just in qualifying, keeping it between those two white lines, proving a challenge for all these drivers in. And you're seeing as well that struggle put on full display as it stands there. We've seen several top drivers' laps come undone at that chicane, so it's going to be a huge factor in how the rest of this session plays out then. But I'm trying to find someone that's on the lap. I think Hercules in the AlphaTauri is further along, heading in at turn 9, so we'll see how the AlphaTauri is going to fare, powering out. Currently 14th place then, a few tenths of a second, putting him inside that top 10. So we'll see if you can find him then as we near the final phase of qualifying. Second sector was pretty good. It's a 10th and a half up. They're flying through. Now it's a spin on the exit. Got the car all wrong there. You can see him was a bit too aggressive on the transition and got it sideways. Rear tires lost grip and straight towards the wall. He's lucky to avoid damage, but he spun up those tires as Foxy Red, I think, improves into 9th position then, putting himself right in that mix in that midfield. But you have to feel then for Hercules then, just losing the grip, breaking the grip, and that's how easy it is to get it wrong there. You have to be so precise going through that corner. A tiny mistake through there will have big consequences. You're going to see that in the race as well. Those drivers are going to have to be absolutely switched on throughout the entire night going through that chicane.
They really are. Another person on lap, meanwhile, is Vettel in the Red Bull coming around the final corner. In the Ferrari, sorry. Let's see what he can do. Currently 7th on the grid with a 19.4. 19 flat. Wow, a brilliant end to the lap for the Ferrari driver. Goes up into P3. That's a good statement from him. Kind of running in the mid part of the top 10 for most of the session. Pops right to the front. Another person that invalidated while you were talking about turn 12 and how difficult it is. Verderano invalidated at the exact point you were talking about that. So he's another person that's been caught out by that corner. No one currently on a lap at the moment. Everyone's just coming out onto the track for their final runs in qualifying. I think Venom is going to be the first person to start his final run in qualifying. Sadaka, take us through a lap on board the Mercedes driver.
Let's see what he can pull off then. He'll be looking to try and get himself up towards that provisional pole position. Can he do it? The Mercedes driver over the line to kick this off. Now, into the first corner. Apex speed, adamant here. Fifth gear. You can run fourth, but he's looking for stability. Keeping it in fifth gear. Now opening the DRS again. Heading into turn 3. Crank out your braking zone. It's just before that 50-meter board. Down to the second gear. Now short shift to third. Got to be key on the traction and balancing with the right foot. Short shift to get to third. Or sorry, downshift to get to third, I should say. Keeping that car planted, but also trying to get some rotation in. Now, over the first sector. How good is it? It's pretty good that he's 600s up. Now, the turn 6 and 7. Keeping it nice and planted. Apex speed is really key throughout these medium speed corners. Try not to run it out too wide though. Now, braking at turn 9. Short shift to get into fourth gear. Get some traction through the exit. Right up against the wall. Taking a path of least resistance to maximise your momentum. Down this full throttle section, and that is quick. Again, going to the middle sector, just about keeps it valid, going through 11 and 12. He was fortunate there, and he's still going to keep this lap alive. Now heading into the final complex. Here first, the turn 13 slight lockup, makes the apex though, keeps it alive yet again. Now into turn 14, down into fifth gear, back up to sixth on the exit, now onto the brakes. For the final time on the lap, in a second, short shift to third. Crucial to find the traction here and carry as much speed as possible going throughout. That's final turn. DRS going to get into the line. Venom currently fifth. Goes up to P1 with a massive final sector. He's down 310 to that last sector. He goes straight up to the top. Venom's out up front. Game on, but his teammate Amazing Hour is even quicker than the first two sectors. It looks like it may well be a duel between the two Mercedes for pole. But let's keep an eye out for any more lap times coming in. Amazing Hour is flying again. But can he get to the line first? The time has expired. And now everyone on their final runs then. We're keeping an eye on Amazing Hour then. He's lost that pole position, but his middle of the lap was so huge. Now, out of the final corner, nice and balanced, nice and quick, to the line, Amazing Hour. Does he beat his teammate? Oh. Yes, he does, and emphatically. A 118.5. Huge lap. Can anyone stop that? Lars is going off it. He is not going to improve, and he validated in that last sector. We've got Scott Buckner, no, he's going off. There was a Red Bull coming up to the line. That's Neil. He's had a pretty good run. Going throughout those first two sectors. 10th at the moment, goes up to 5th. Good lap there from Neil. Right up into the mix. M. Short goes over and goes second, splitting those Mercedes, getting him up at the front row there. Zerada Runner goes up into 9th position. The lap time's flying in. At this final stage of the session then. Next up is a racing point. I think that's Casper round the final corner. First time we've been able to see him in action all the way through. Renault spin to the back. Out Casper to the line. 15th only. Couldn't quite find the time that he would have wanted to do. Next up is an Alfa Romeo. Gerazi slightly up in that middle sector. It's 9 Newton improvement. Goes 7 behind her then. I think that's Zanima coming through. The time's coming second fast, but he's sandbagged that lap. He might not want to start inside that top 10. Venoms though is still out there, but I think he has backed off on that lap, unable to improve. That is it for a thrilling qualifying session. And it's the two drivers we tipped to get to the front are at the front here in qualifying, but Amazing Hour was so dominant, quarter of a second clear. That's a huge statement to open up the season with.
That is a massive time for Amazing Hour. We thought that his third run in qualifying before he invalidated was going to be something. That was something else. What a time. An 18.5. Over 2/10 clear of M Short, second on the grid, just gets second on the grid ahead of Venom, who set a stellar final lap himself as well in that second Mercedes. And it is Mercedes Williams, the front two rows of the grid. When's the last time we saw that in Formula 1? That must have been a while ago that we saw that. Must have been 2014 was the last time we saw that in real life. But my word, what a race we've got ahead of us. The top four incredibly fast. Behind the top four on the grid though, Vettel in 5th place in the Ferrari. Good lap from him, a 19 flat, just ahead of Neo, who improved on that final run in the Red Bull. Gerassi in 7th place for Alfa Romeo ahead of Andreas. Verderana and Kriza rounds off the top 10. First person outside the top 10 is Foxy Red in the second Renault. Second Red Bull of Zaldemar is 12th ahead of Faxan 13th. Scott Bugner 14th. Casper ahead of Hercules, Stay Calm, Neymar, Vax Viking and Killua, who crashed very early on in the session on a set of medium tyres. So he didn't get a representative time in. Neither did Vax Viking, it seems. He struggled to put a representative time in the AlphaTauri. My word, what a qualifying session leading up to an incredible race we've got shaping up.
Yeah, should be absolutely electric. We'll see how this is going to unfold then ahead of it. But you have to say, Amazing Hour looks so confident going into this one. That is a big margin to hold in a qualifying session, especially when every league is so competitive. Getting a margin like that has to spell good things for the race. So the question is then, can M-Short or anyone else get near him? It looks a little bit darker, dare I say it, for this qualifying for this race, sorry. Potentially a little bit of cloud cover, but I think it is still going to be fairly dry throughout. It's going to be intriguing to see what the tyre strategies are. I wouldn't say starting outside the top 10 is a massive advantage here, because you can easily do a one-stop starting on the soft tyres. But the real question is then, can you keep those soft tyres alive for long enough to keep them going and sustain that strategy for the end of the race? Because I have seen drivers try a soft-medium strategy around here, but soft-hard, I'd say, is generally the more popular one. What do you think the drivers are going to go for at a track where track position is so key? It's not always the fastest strategy that's going to get you the best result here.
Yeah, you would imagine the people in the top 5 on the grid maybe are going to go for that soft hard strategy just because it is the safe option. They don't want to take the risk of running too long on the softs, maybe getting a puncture or being risk of being undercut from a driver behind. Don't be surprised if we see someone a bit further down the grid maybe try something a little bit different. We'll probably see a lot of the drivers outside the top 10 doing that medium soft strategy just to try and be on the faster tyres at the end. That would be very common for a lot of people outside the top 10. Let's have a look and see what tyres people are on outside the top 10, and pretty much everyone outside the top 10 is on a set of medium compound tyres, apart from Vax Viking in 19th place. He's starting on a set of softs, so he's looking to make places fairly early on in this race, but a lot of those drivers on the mediums will go to the softs for the latter part of this race. Probably see them pitting around lap 18 or 19 for a set of soft tyres around this track. The soft hard, like you say though, probably the safer strategy, not the fastest, but the safer route to go, especially at a track that is so difficult to overtake on.
Yeah, certainly, and I agree with your point that these front runners are probably going to try and run a soft hard strategy, because yes, a soft to medium is very possible, and in theory it might be slightly quicker, but what you're doing is that you're running the risk of getting up track position. It's going to be intriguing to see how the field is going to divide on this, because it could really shake up the order around here. But also Vax Viking, very intriguing, going for that soft start. Maybe looking to try and use the extra tyre grip to move forward in the early parts of the race. But we've got to see who distinguishes themselves amongst these medium runners then, and maybe even challenge the soft runners, because the mediums are very good race tyre rounds here, I've found, and so they should be able to keep pretty close to the soft runners, especially if the field bunches up to those first few turns that it usually does. Then you could be seeing maybe even a bit of an overlapping, so the guys like Foxy Red Zaldemar will be looking to maybe try and grab some places off the start. Most of all, keep it clean, because they have such a good starting position as it is. But maybe just grab a few positions, get a nice clean start, get through, take the opportunities that you can. And ultimately, those guys in the mediums, if they get away well, have put themselves in a great position to move forward later on.
Yeah, they really have, and they've kind of got to wait really for their strategy to come alive, haven't they? With those medium tyres, they're not going to have the outright speed in the opening few laps of this race, and there is no point really trying to battle for a position around this track. It's just going to cost you so much time later on in the race, so maybe worth sitting there on the medium tyres, protecting them a little bit for later on in the race, where when you get the clean air, when everyone pits, you can start to push on those medium tyres. Before we get going though for this race, Daka, I'm going to ask you the question that I know you hate. Who is your top three prediction for this race?
I think it's hard to bet against Amazing Hour for the win, but behind that it's relatively interesting. I'm going to say M-Short for second, but I'll take maybe a bit of a wild card. I'll say Neo for P3. Yeah. We'll see how it all unfolds, but I think that we've got a hugely unpredictable race. Who knows which way it's going to fall?
It really could fall anyway. Safety cars could play a part in this. So many things could play a part in this race. The medium tyres could be really strong. It could play into those drivers starting outside the top 10. But we are getting ready for the first race of the EML Formula 1 League. Then Amazing Hour and M-Short on the front row. Their teammates on the row behind. Who gets the best start? Lights are out and away they go, and it's a fairly even start. Venom, actually, second row of the grid, has had a brilliant start in that second Mercedes. He nearly runs into the back of his teammate, but he's got past M-Short crucially into turn one, so great start. M-Short's actually dropped behind his teammate as well. Lars up into third place. M-Short now under pressure from Vettel, who's trying to go around the outside for fourth place at turn three. M-Short, though, late on the brakes down the inside, is just going to hold the place. Jurassic behind, just trying to make a move. There's a lot of chaos going on a bit further down the field. Kreese has had a good start in the Racing Point from 10th on the grid, but it is Amazing Hour that leads the way in the Mercedes. His teammate now runs in second place. Great start for Venom. Lars up into third. M-Short down to fourth from the front row of the grid. Crucial for his race that he's dropped behind his teammate and the other Mercedes. Vettel holds fifth. Jurassic sixth. Neo seventh. And Neymar has crashed. And that is a virtual safety car. I don't know if that was contact with anybody. I think it might have been maybe contact with Killua, actually, who's just got a time penalty for a collision with Neymar and has got a broken front wing. But Neymar already out of proceedings. A virtual safety car to calm the first lap down.
My oh my, that was chaotic down there. Looked pretty clean going through the first few corners. Couple of little scuffles down there, but all in all, it looked pretty clean down there. But yeah, I think that was Killua and Neymar coming together. And of course, Neymar paying the price out the race, unfortunately. And everyone now just carrying on. We're going to see if anyone's going to take that gamble to go in. I don't suspect so. Amazing Hour, I think, is pretty happy to control this race in the front. Venom's, though, what a start. He looked as though he was going to take the lead for a brief moment then. He got away so strongly. Now, looks like these leaders are going to kick it back on the way then, getting themselves up to speed then. So now the Mercedes can control this race from the front of the grid. Now that they've made that establishment, made that gain up at the front. We're not quite green flags just yet, though. So do have some pit stops then for Faxland and, of course, Killer who had that damage. Now we get underway, and those guys aren't going to benefit too much. And now the race back on the way further down the field. The Foxy Red has got a great run. He's getting up and alongside his teammate Andreas, who didn't get away well. Now under pressure. Round the outside, Foxy Red. Can he go the long way round? No, he's going to get squeezed out there. And now you got Verderada trying to follow through. Zazada and the Red Bull for company in behind as well. They all filter through then. In a line as it stands, Andreas had to the bed. He didn't get the best timing of that VSC restart, and now he's in trouble because the top 8 are pulling away, all in potential DRS of each other once it gets activated. So Andreas has got some serious work to do, and all of a sudden he's holding everyone back behind him. So a break between the top 8 and the rest of the field is very possible here if Andreas can't pick it up.
Yeah, and you've got to say the big loser on the first lap of those soft runners that started inside the top 10 is Verderana, down to 11th place. He's trying to go for a move on Foxy Red into turn 11. Foxy Red runs really deep into 11, though it's going to compromise him through 12. Can Verderana get the run on him down towards the corner? But Zauda are in behind. It's got a run on the pair of them here. They're going to go 3 wide into 13. Oh, Foxy Red with a late defense to the inside, trying to hold it, and there's contact with Verderana on the exit of the corner. They're still side by side through 14. Verderana trying to hold it around the outside, but there's just not enough room. And now Scott Bunger's trying to go down the inside of Zaudimer into turn 15 and loses the rear of the car. That allows Hercules to go around the outside and up into 13th place. So a bit messy in that pack of the lead medium runners. Foxy Red holds on to 10th place. Verderana's trying to come back at him down towards turn 1, down the inside of the Ferrari, but Foxy Red cuts that off. Doesn't allow him the opportunity to get down the inside. Oh, Zaudimer, yeah, spun through turn 2. What a shame. After looking like he could have got the move done on either one of those drivers, has lost it on his own coming out the corner. Hasn't hit anything, so he can continue on, but his possible good strategy has kind of gone with that spin.
Yeah, just getting it all wrong there. Pulling the overtake mode, I was on board with him, and yeah, Jack Carr just gone away from him. Uncharacteristic error from Zaudimer, now dropping well down the field and way out of contention in the early stages of this race. What a battle here. Foxy Red not willing to get this up, and they've cost themselves collectively so much time. Look at Verderana, the attack is relentless to the inside line. The Renault shuts the door on him then. He is not willing to give up any more time, and it's dangerous. These guys coming very close to contact. The pace is definitely with Verderana in these early laps, but he's got to be careful that he doesn't overreach and get himself in an accident. So let's see how that's all unfolds then. Further up the field, actually looks like Neil was struggling a little bit then to hang with it, and now he's got Kreese right behind him at that Racing Point. And further up the road as well, Vettel with your rising right on him, so you can see the ball beginning to break up into little pockets already in the field, spreading out in the early stages, but the constant so far has been Amazing Hour up at the front then, pulling clear. 23.2 is decent enough race pace that he can run with it. His teammate Venom sticking with him, and it's going to be difficult for these Williams drivers to break through now. Further down the field, Kreese very, very close to Neil. You sense the move is going to come through soon for the Racing Point. He has a great run coming up turn 2 to the inside line, and Neil's not going to fight it. Through goes Quasar. He is up now into that 7th place further down the field. Foxy Red and Verderada still battling away in a turn 3 to Ferrari, trying to go the long way around, incredibly late on the brakes. There's car down between him and round goes Verderada. There was a tap from the Renault behind. He tried to run the long way round, and I said it, these guys were getting into such close proximity, getting so risky with their moves, that eventually it's come to blows, and Verderada has gone around. He's had a nightmare race so far, but that battle was always going to end in tears the way that was going.
Yeah, it was just getting really messy. Foxy Red trying desperately to hold on to that 10th place. Look how far he's dropped behind his teammate. 5 seconds, 2 laps ago. He was trying to take that place off of his teammate. He's lost so much time battling these guys, and it's affecting all of the medium runners behind. Hercules, Scott Bugnar, as well as Jurassi's going for a move on Vettel down towards turn 13 and has got the move done. So he's up into 5th place. We've got a yellow flag. That's Hercules that spun coming out of turn 12. Has he hit the barrier? I think he's got away with it. He hasn't got any visible damage on this end, so he can continue on. He loses a place to Verderano. In fact, Viking, his teammate, is likely to pass him as well later on in the lap. Jurassic then up into 5th place. One thing to note, the top 3 are pulling away. M Short has been left by the top 3. The gap is now 2.6 seconds. M Short, in the race conditions at least, doesn't seem to have anywhere near the pace of his teammate or the 2 Mercedes.
And Neil with a penalty very early on. He's also looked struggling, but yeah, M Short, his pace looked every inch the equal of at least Venom and Lars, and so far it's not going that way. Maybe he picked up some very slight damage. It was very tight down there in a turn 1, because his pace has been very far off what we're used to seeing from him. Now Jurassic and Vettel are honing in on him. Jurassic, of course, making that move on the last lap, looking for a way through, but he's got to be careful. Nearly lose the car coming into turn 6. Got to keep that together. The move should come to him, given enough time. M Short is a little bit lower on ERS as well, so the Williams driver will struggle to hold that back. Casper as well, a penalty further down the field. Penalties could rack up round here. Can be very easy to do so, especially at turn 11 and turn 12 chicane, where the margins are so fine. And M Short lagging about the track a little bit. He may have enough of that, but Jurassic is closing on him all the time. And the Alfa Romeo attacking the Williams to the inside of turn 13. That one is denied. He knows he doesn't need to get too impatient so far. The manoeuvre should come to him in due course, but let's see how quickly he wants to get that done. Still the Mercedes controlling it at the front, and Lars, the only person that has the pace to go with him, as Andreas disconnecting from the session, unfortunately. Hopefully he gets back in relatively soon, because that's really going to set back his race. Jurassic closing on M Short. The move not coming through now, but I sense he's going to be a bit more decisive now. Heading in at turn 3, but M Short had a good run there. Going through turns 1 and 2 and immediately on the overtake. He is not giving this position up. Jurassic chasing him down, but he's not going for the move just yet. M Short holding firm, but they're still losing time to the top 3. Lars and M Short, that gap's gone out by nearly a full second on the last lap.
Yeah, just looking at M Short, he doesn't seem to be all over the road. He doesn't seem to be struggling with any sort of oversteer or lack of traction. He just hasn't got the pace. I'm wondering whether the setup he went for is just too quali focused, and he's maybe burnt his soft tyres out very quickly in this race. That is very easy to do around this track. Jurassic, in the middle part of the lap especially, looks so much more confident, and now these 3 are being caught by Kriza behind, and he's dragging Neo with him, so they are getting close. It's becoming a 5-way battle now for P4, as Venom, 2nd place in this race, picks up a time penalty. Oh, and it's amazing hour spun. Amazing hour spun coming out of turn 12. Another person caught out by that corner, and our race leader, who looks so strong at the front of the field, has dropped the car all on his own. He drops down to 8th place. That gives the lead to his teammate, who's just picked up a penalty. All of a sudden, Lars looks like he could win this race, as Jurassic's now past M Short as well. It's all kicking off on lap 6.
This race just got flipped on its absolute head. Somehow Venom's into the lead now, but Lars in a favourable position can now just hold that DRS. So Amazing Hour went off, and he's into the pit lane. He must have wrecked those tyres with that spin. I don't think he got any significant damage, but the Australian is in real trouble here. He looked so in control of this race before. Now up the road, I'm seeing Vettel now try to attack M Short, getting up towards him. He's got a lot of DRS, but he's too far away. M Short still holding the DRS, and Jurassic runs out wide though through turn 3, but he'll hold on to the position. Amazing Hour predictably onto the hard tyres. Where does he emerge? He's going to come out, I think, in relatively clean air. He can try and push into that, maybe make it on to cut work, but his race has been turned completely upside down, and now it's his teammate moving up, killing them with a penalty. Absolutely chaotic out there on track. Venom's leads, Lars going with him. All Lars needs to do now is just stick with him the entirety of the race. Easier said than done. Amazing Hour is too far back, surely, and the rest of the field doesn't have the pace. So all of a sudden, Lars has been thrust into the limelight there. Now he has a serious advantage. The Williams driver now in control of this race.
He's got an amazing opportunity, but I tell you, someone else has got an amazing opportunity. That is Jurassic. He's closing in on the top two as it stands. The gap's down to 3.6. Loses the rear of the car a bit out of turn 13, but having got out of the dirty air of M-Short, he's starting to push towards the top two. He's really starting to close in on them, and he's dropping M-Short, who's just struggled so much. And M-Short is into the pit lane. He's the first of the lead runners, apart from Amazing Hour, to come into the pits. I think Neo is following him in, as actually M-Short braked very early for the pit lane there as well, so that might cost him some time a little bit later on. He's into the pits. Where does he come out relative to Amazing Hour? Amazing Hour was behind these two drivers after his spin. We'll see where they come out relative to him. It's hard tyres for M-Short, as you would expect. It is hard tyres for Neo as well to get them to the end of the race. M-Short out of the pit lane. It's going to be right in this battle, I think, with Hercules and Zaldimer as they come down the pit straight. I think he might actually be just in the middle of it as he heads into turn one. No, he's going to be behind it. So crucially for Zaldimer, he's ahead of M-Short, which could help him and his teammate with Neo as well, who's just behind them on the road. Crucially for M-Short, he is now stuck in traffic.
Yeah, you suspect that Zaldimer is not going to let him easy, especially when Neo is trying to get himself in range, but he is falling behind and has a penalty to his name, so even Neo does not quite have everything going for him. Still at the front, the penalties are still picking up there. Stay calm now with one. The drivers are racking up penalties at such a rate that you could see very few drivers keeping it clean, and those guys are going to be really advantaged. Further down the field, Vance Viking's going off there. Turn 4 recovers it, but I think he may have wing damage on that AlphaTauri. I'm trying to locate it out there. No, I think he is fine, but he's had a miserable race as well so far, as Venom's now out for the lead and Lars staying out. So we're seeing some split strategies here, and I wonder if we're going to see a tyre difference. Gerard's in as well behind, and Vettel as well following in. Has a really nice penetrate, Vettel, nice and aggressive, but is that Venom being held? Venom's been held, he gets out just in front of Crazer, but now Lars been thrust into this one. Now, hard tyres going on the Mercedes. If Lars wants to stay out and go for mediums now, he has that option because he's not losing too much on track position. The field's spread out to such an extent. If he can keep those softs going for a few more laps and get out nicely in front, then Venom's is just too far back as it stands now. Well, as I say that, I think he will jump him, but just with medium tyres on and not a penalty, Lars can just extend this and use those mediums to put himself in a huge position to get into the race, and Venom's being held up by Staycom at this point.
He is definitely being held behind Staycom. Zaldimer's just past Hercules. M-Short hasn't passed either of them just yet. He's got Cruiser right behind. Vettel's actually overcut M-Short in the pit lane, so that's worked out beautifully for him. Jurassic and Vettel all of a sudden have been thrown into the possibility of winning this race. Venom, who was our net race leader, is now less than a second ahead of the Alfa Romeo after that pit stop phase. So my word, this could really play into their hands as well. They could be fighting for this race victory. It all depends on their speed on the hard compound tyres. Further back, M-Short is going to get the move done on Hercules into turn 9 of all places. Gets it done on the AlphaTauri, and now Creaser's trying to get the move done as well, but he's not close enough into turn 11 to have a look at the AlphaTauri, who's really struggling at this point in the race. Venom's going to pass Staycom. Creaser into the back of Hercules through turn 12. Caught out by that, and that's caught Amazing Hour out, who was off the road on the exit of turn 12 in avoidance, and here comes Neo down the inside, but he decides against going for that move into turn 13, but Amazing Hour still with grass on his tyres, struggling to keep the car on the road at turn 13. Just about stays on the road, but it's falling apart for the Mercedes man at the moment. He just can't seem to catch a break as it stands. Into the pit lane comes Hercules, so that frees them up. As Lars then out of the pit lane. He's well ahead. Yeah, look at that. 2 seconds clear. Venom being held up in the pit lane and held up behind Staycom has worked beautifully into the hands of Lars, who leads this race without a penalty.
He is in a commanding position at the moment, and further down the field, Jurazi gets alongside Staycom, is going to sweep around. He has in a turn 4, and the McLaren doesn't put up a fight. He knows that is lost, and through goes Jurazi. He's not out of this race either, and he can show some really strong pace in those tires. He's at least got second place at the moment then. He's driven so well so far, given the fact that Staycom gets another penalty. But Jurazi, from 7th on the grid, he has driven a sublime race so far to put himself into contention. And now he's got to try and contend with Vettel now behind as his nearest threat. M-Short has kind of dropped off in these last few laps, really just hasn't had the all-out race pace. And that's some traffic then, as they're Amazing Hour further back against alongside Cracer, and is going to get through heading into turn 11. So Amazing Hour still fighting back through. You sense the Mercedes will surely have a lot of pace on the Enigmas Crazy gets the penalty, but Amazing Hour can try and charge through. Even after that mistake, he can still try and salvage something. His gap up in front, let's have a little look. So he is about 6 or so seconds away from Jirazi. I wouldn't say that's completely out of the question just yet, so Amazing Hour's still got a podium in, but he needs to get his head down and he can't make another mistake. Amazing Hour trying to recover from a mistake, but even so, Lars has got a commanding advantage in this race. You said the Williams driver is surely not going to get caught by the Mercedes now.
You surely can't be at this point in the race, especially with that penalty for Venom. Lars looking really, really comfortable. And look how much ERS Lars has got in his back pocket as well. He's nearly full on ERS. He hasn't had to use any. As it stands, Venom's got half of his ERS, and Jurassi's got even less than that. So they're really pushing, trying to close in on Lars. They're nearly within DRS range when they come round to the exit of turn 12. Jurassic really pushing there, coming out of turn 5. Vettel now with a time penalty. He runs in a net P4 in this race. So that is crucial as well, especially with M Short and Amazing Hour not having a penalty. Vettel does pass Stay Calm for 7th on the road, but already Vettel was now 2.5 seconds behind Jurassic when he came out of the pit lane directly behind him. And all Stay Calm straight off the road there at turn 9, just completely missing his braking point. I think he's just going to stop and let these drivers through, as Andreas has got a time penalty, and that's Verderana that spun. Where is that on the track? That is turn 4, I think, and that's another virtual safety car. So just like what we saw from Killua in qualifying, Verderana has lost the rear of the car coming out of 4 and hit the wall before turn 5.
Look at that side in there. Foxy Red was in a perfect position and has been thrust right into this one. Scott Buckler and Casper also going in behind as well. They won't get into the lead here, I don't think, or will they? My oh my, this played into their hands, but they're going to have to put those hard tyres on because the softs are not going to make it to the end. So Lars is still going to jump through it. Then we get back to green flag. That is going to negate the advantage somewhat. But how is this going to play out now? As I think I saw someone get a drive-through penalty.
Neo.
And that was Neo further down the field, and a race that started promising is now going downhill quickly, rapidly for the Red Bull driver. Out of the field comes Foxy Red. He's just in front of Creaser with fresher tyres. He can now try and attack the drivers up in front, but it's two quality drivers of M Short and Amazing Hour. We'll see how that's going to unfold. So that VSA had lasted a little bit longer. It could have really put them into contention then. Foxy Red may well have been in a net top 5 position. Still not far off it. We'll see what he can do with that position now. Backslid into the pit lane behind has also had a miserable day, as now Creaser dragging alongside Foxy Red, I think that was. Or was that Foxy Red going through there? Yeah. Renault into his now. Verderana's gone out, of course. He's out of the session entirely after that off just a lap ago. So the race really holding up in this midfield. I'm seeing Creaser making a mistake, so now Neil trying to get up to him, but Neil as well with that drive through is going to have to come in and serve that, and Neil now almost well out of this race. Look at Amazing Hour though. He has got the Williams all lined up now with the ERS. Put to the inside lane, M Short, surely it's futile to fight this one, the inside lane with the Mercedes. He's late on the brakes, and there's a place for the Mercedes as well. Through goes Amazing Hour now, up into the top 6 in this race, on the recovery drive, still charging through, still a podium in sight. It's up in the front. Lars, we've not mentioned him in a while, has a low VRS to his name, but he is being caught, even with the lap pressure tires. Bale's coming up towards him, and Jirazi's still in this, so Jirazi's still got an outside bet in this race, in the mix here, as Neil comes in to serve that drive through, but Lars at the front hasn't wrapped this up. He's going to avoid the penalty. Jirazi is right in this race as well in the Alfa Romeo.
He really is. Amazing how then after that overtake is now only just over 3 seconds behind Vettel, so he could get the place on Vettel in this race. Zaldam is still yet to make his stop, so he doesn't really have to worry about the Red Bull driver unless he catches him in these next few laps. Vettel with a penalty means that Amazing Hour at this moment could be on for a 4th place finish at best, at the least really in this race. Venom not that far in front either with a penalty to his name, so a podium is still on the cards for Amazing Hour if he can use this fresh air to try and push up towards the front of the field. Foxy Red then coming out in 8th place on the road, a net P7 in this race, considering how much time he lost in the opening few laps battling with Verderana. That is a great outcome for the Renault driver. Without that battle earlier on, he could have been in front of all of these guys. He could have been right up with Vettel in 4th place, as Lars has lost the place to the race leader, as Venom's gone for the move at 13. Lars around the outside of turn 14, holds it on the track just about into turn 15 though. The pace is with Venom around the outside, and he's going to get the move done. So Venom back into the lead of the race on the track. Lars still penalty free though. It's going to hold on to it, but this gives all the more incentive now to Jurassic to try and push onto the back of the Williams driver. Venom with the outright speed gets back into the net race lead, but he understeers quite heavily there through turn 2. Is Lars going to be close enough to try and retake it? He's not pushing for it, so Lars recognising maybe that Venom's the faster driver with a great move around the outside of turn 15. Venom up into the net race lead. He's just got to hope now the 2 drivers behind him get a penalty.
oh my, that was so on the knife edge then. The race leader's going at it, but Venom gets the move done critically and is moving forward now in dramatic fashion in this race. But Shirazi's now with Lars, and now that's the fight. So it is not over yet. Venom's not out this one, and he has that trap position that he can now try and work with the Williams and the Alfa Romeo still at 2 behind him. So now is Lars going to think about getting back. Of course, he could get back at Venom. Venom, of course, had that double DRS, that critical double DRS, going through the back straight and in a turn 3, which kept him in front. But now DRS with Lars. Is he going to be content to just sit it behind him then? Now behind that, Vettel still holding on to 4. Zernemer holding up behind him as well, still keeping those mediums going. An amazing hour is flying. His pace is remarkable. He's called for a second to Zernemer, coming right back into this race. So we'll see what he can make of it then. And he's still not out of this one. We'll see how this is going to unfold up at the front. But Venom's leads, I think he's comfortable. I think these guys are all content to hang where they are. The question is though, Vettel, with Zernemer just trying to hang on with him, when's Zernemer going to compete, and when it's amazing are going to be released? He's got a chance of getting up to the top 5, but going into the second half of this race, it looks unlikely, but look at the apex speed there, but he gets a penalty on the exit, so that sent it back even further. Now Zernemer covering the inside line, to the outside it's going to be for the pre-season favourite, runs right around the outside on the brakes and gets the move done. Amazing hour, up into 5th place, still charging and getting the move done, but how much is that penalty going to cost him? Even if he gets up towards these top 3, Gerasi and Law still have the advantage on him, and Venoms has got a few cars between them. So Amazing Hours really set back his podium chances with that penalty, and Lars and Gerasi look even safer up at the front now.
That is an amazing move from Amazing Hour, but like you say, that penalty is going to hang over his head. Look how much he's caught Vettel in the last few laps. That gap was well over 3 seconds a couple of laps ago. He's now already within DRS range of the Ferrari driver, who's not that much slower than our race leaders. As now M-Short picks up a penalty. We've got a yellow flag in the middle, in the final sector. I think that might be Vax Viking, a lap down, who's made a mistake, unfortunately, in the AlphaTauri. He's continuing on, though, trying to score some points. Remember, we are running the EML point structure, so we do get a couple of points for an 18th place finish. So Vax Viking just trying to get to the end and score those points. Amazing Hour, though, already all over the back of Vettel. Can he get a move done down towards turn 1, or maybe a bit further down towards turn 3? Losing the rear of the car a little bit is the Mercedes man out the final corner. He's really pushing. Look at the straight line speed, though, in that Mercedes. He gets up to the back of the Ferrari in front. Can he get the run through turn 2? He's on his ERS. Does Vettel defy and defend the move? No, he's going to keep to the racing line, and Amazing Hour's going to have to be late on the brakes, but he's not close enough into turn 3. Vettel holds on to 4th for the time being. These two have dropped Zaudemer by 2 seconds already, as Vax Viking has made another mistake in the first sector. As further down the field, Hercules and Killua are battling for 15th on the road. Hercules has got that moved on Killua. I think might have made a mistake, so he's dropped down into 16th place in that second Alfa Romeo. Back at the front of the field, Venom has nearly broken DRS range to Lars, so if he does do that, that could play beautifully into the hands of Jurassic behind in 3rd.
But it also could play into the hands of Venom, because if he's got that raw pace underneath him, then he may be able to bridge that gap. He's still got some time left in this race. But looking up the front now, as these guys now in 4th and 5th, they've caught up to Vax Viking, and actually Vettel's really benefited, because he's got that DRS to defend, and he has more ERS than Amazing Hour. But I think it's really burned that out in these last few laps, trying to make that progress. Hercules now with a penalty. He is now struggling now in this race, then running a bit further down the field in 15th position as it stands up at the front. Venom still pulling clear, and Lars, who looked in such a comfortable ERS position, he does hit the first lap of the race, and he's trying to charge up towards him, but you said he's going to struggle to keep that alive then. He's used so much ERS to stay in that window already. Now up further back down the field, can Amazing Hour get this done this time? He's got slightly more battery than the last lap, but he's just too far away, and Vettel doing everything he can to hold this back. He's got a battle to fight for. He's still got to run at this 4th place, and he's doing everything he needs to do, but it's holding back Amazing Hour, who cannot get that manoeuvre done, and that's isolating the top 3 even further, who continue to just inch away up front. So Lars and Jirazi looking ever more comfortable, but Jirazi again looks like he's maybe struggling. So they're beginning to thin themselves out. It's an ebbing and flowing battle. Could go either way as it stands, but really it's up to the DRS. I think if any one of these drivers drops back, because I think that Venoms has the most pace out of these 3, if either one of them drops out, it seems like it's almost a point of no return, because it's going to be almost impossible for either the other 2 to get back into this. But look further back now, Amazing Hour is close to getting ahead, but Vettel's very confident going through that chicane. The overtake is now activated. for the Mercedes driver. Is he going to be closing up though? He's going to run round. He is in a turn 13, lay on the brakes. Amazing Hour looking for 4th place. Can he run all the way round? There's contact and Vettel just keeps it out the wall. Amazing Hour going through. Vettel just keeps it pointing in the right direction, but he had to relegate that position. Through goes Amazing Hour. Can he catch up to the top 3 or still running in that formation? Venom looks so quick, but he's not quick enough and cannot break away. Laura still keeping him honest and holding him in that DRS.
Yeah, he's doing just enough at this point in the race to keep his win hopes alive. Venom's just not got enough raw speed to break that DRS. What a move from Amazing Hour. Vettel, I think, just lack of grip, understeered really into the side of the Mercedes on the exit of turn 13. Lucky to get away with it further down the field. Zaldimer, 6th place at the moment, under pressure from M Short. Down towards turn 3. M Short darts down the inside line. He's going to get that move done further back. I think Kreese has gone off the road. Oh no, sorry, that's Casper, that spun off the road. On the alternate strategy, he's spun coming out of turn 2 and has hit that front wing, and it's badly damaged. I don't know if he had contact with anybody. He was running close to Scott Bugner, but I don't think there was any contact involved in that. Casper, after a terrible qualifying, was looking to recover in the race, and it's just not quite worked for him, unfortunately, as now Zaldimer under pressure from Foxy Red, who's trying to get the move done on the Red Bull driver. Can't get through, though. Coming through turn 9, and now he's under pressure from Kreese and Andreas behind. We're really trying to close in. They're trying to keep up with M Short, who is breaking away. Zaldimer on those old medium tyres just hasn't got any pace left. Can Foxy Red get the move done towards turn 13? He's got a lot of ERS in hand. Zaldimer, though, deciding to stick to the Racing 9. Foxy Red not going for the move at turn 13. He sticks behind the Red Bull for the time being. Zaldimer holds on to 7th place, still going on those medium tyres, but you can see how quickly M Short is pulling away in 6th place.
I suspect the pit stop's coming very soon. In fact, it's coming now from Zaldimer. Now Foxy Red and the rest are released. Fresh tires still on Foxy Red. Can he use those to hunt down M Short up in front and look for that 6th position? But he's got company. He's got Kreese all over him. Andreas still with him, and this is an incredibly tight battle out there on the track. Where was Zaldimer going to emerge? He's one of only 3 clean drivers left in this race, so if he can get up to the pack, he can gain some place on penalties, as we've so often seen him doing, and that'd be a great recovery from that spin earlier on in the race. Looking up at the front end, Venom still leads. Amazing Hour behind it is very slightly quicker, but you sense it's too little too late, with Lars and Jurazi just holding on, holding firm at that front group. And so far now, Venom's his strong pace from a few laps ago doesn't look quite as intimidating now, and Lars and Jurazi seems to be having a fairly easy time staying with him. So it could come down to penalties then. If Lars gets one, it swings it to Jurazi, but if Jurazi gets one, then it puts Lars under just that little bit less pressure, and he can hold on to that first, second position, get it on the track at the end. So really, that's how the pendulum could swing here. Lars still has better tires. That could factor in at the end of the race. Venom's pushing, I'm sure, with everything he has, but he's struggling. An Amazing Hour has actually caught up so much in this lap. He's within 4 seconds. He's flying up to this. He's not out of this just yet.
He's not at all out of this race. We've got 10 laps still left to go in this one. Amazing Hour could be on the back of these 3 very quickly in this race. It could really play into his hands, especially if the drivers in front start to get penalties. That could really help him, and that could really ignite the fire under him even more at the moment. Further down, Foxy Red has caught back up to M Short. He's already onto the back of the Williams man, who just continues to fall in this race from front row start. A poor start to the race, and he just hasn't been able to recover. Currently running in 6th place. Amazing Hour even spun in this race and has still recovered to 4th place. Foxy Red trying to get the move done. Sal, stay calm, has gone into the pit lane for a set of soft compound tyres. I think he's the last person in this race to make his mandatory stop, so he is in the McLaren. Zaldimer on those soft tyres, currently 11th place, but he's 16 seconds off the back of Scott Bugner. That is a massive amount of time he's got to try and gain in these final 10 laps. I don't know if that is quite possible unless something happens in front. Further up, 6th place, still safe for M Short for the time being, but you've got to say, struggling for pace, all race, older tyres. M Short is going to be under massive pressure from all 3 of these drivers behind.
He's got about 30% less of the ERS department that's charging Renault. Foxy Red behind him as well. Scott Bugner gets a penalty. That's gonna hurt his chances of trying to gain any more places on this group ahead that we're watching now. So M Short holding firm, holding fast, but look at Foxy Red just bearing down on him, and now he has the Williams locked in his sights. Now he's going to look for the move then. So can M Short hold on to this? Punching out at turn 16. You sense that Foxy Red has his all lined up. He's on the overtake to close in, but surely not going to go for the move in a turn 1. Fades to the inside, but biding his time. Can M Short hold on? Now, on the overtake. Foxy Red trying to get up to him. He's using the overtake, but I think M Short as well. Try and maintain this one. Foxy Red getting, but not getting enough. M Short looks to have some decent pace in the straight line as far as down the field. Andreas is going off. Payne's got bounded now. So Andreas makes that mistake. An emphatic fastest lap from Zerma. The field though getting mixed up with Andreas making that error. Big one is there. Well, he's dropped well off the back of this field. Now it's an isolated group of 3 from P6 to P8.
That is such a shame for Andreas, recovering after disconnecting earlier on in the session. Just spun, I think, too early on the throttle through turn 2. I just caught that in the background. That is such a shame for the run. He continues on with no damage, but he's dropped behind Scott Bugner, and Zalama's closing in on the back of them now on those soft tyres, so he is under a bit of pressure, especially with a couple penalties to his name. Can Foxy Red think about a move maybe towards turn 13? I don't think he's close enough, and you've got to say Carissa has looked very strong in the racing point as well. I think if he got the opportunity to get past Foxy Red, he would go for it. He's just not close enough. Back to the front of the field though, Venom still leads from Lars and Jurassic. There's not really been any change in gaps between them, but amazing hour. Look at the gap now, it's only 2 seconds. He's halved the gap in the last couple of laps. He's really flying. Lars in front though in second place, looking to the inside line of Venom at turn 1. Is he going to think about a move down towards turn 3? He's on his ERS, he's pushing up towards the Mercedes man. Venom's moving to the middle of the track. Lars goes to the outside. Look how late on the brakes Lars was. That's too late on the brakes. Surely he's going to miss the corner. Jurassic's going to come through now. They're going to go side by side through turn 4. Can Jurassic keep it on the road on the inside of turn 5? What a battle between these two, but there's contact! And Jurassic spun through turn 6. He just about gets away with no damage, but for what could have been the race-winning move, Jurassic spun out of contention. Lars holds on to second place, but now Amazing Hours up into third place, and Venom's got a great opportunity at trying to extend that gap.
He's got 1.5 seconds in hand, needs another 1.5 seconds, but he'll have his teammate bearing down, and wow, that changes the race. Jurassic, you have to feel for him. Just a racing incident, I think. He was pinched on the inside and ultimately had nowhere to go. Just maybe got a bit too ambitious, trying to get that move. He saw the mistake from Lars, and that probably was going to be his only real opportunity. Further down the field, look at Foxy Red now. He has him short all lined up, running round inside towards turn 13. Gets it on easily, but he runs out wide. He well just hold on to it though. That's amazing. Another penalty. So now Venom's that comes towards him now. The race falling into his hands, but can he get the gap on Lars? He needs. All of a sudden Venom's now into the driver's seat. Can he hold on to this? Can he get the gap? Lars has got so much pressure on him now. That mistake going for the race lead has dropped him out of DRS conversely. Has amazing error bearing down on him. And all of a sudden Berams, if he can avoid another penalty, could be the favourite to win this one. Down if you like, I think that's one of the AlphaTauris. Hercules is going off. Down there at turn 12. I think that's the second time that corner has caught him out. So he now falls into 15th place. My oh my, this race went absolutely up in the air all the way through. Foxy Red getting in front of M Short. He'll try and chase down some of the cars in front. Vettel is isolated in 5th place, so we'll see if he can try and get that gap down. Still Venom's up the front, but Lars is matching him, and matching him is all he needs to do. As long as Lars gets through and keeps pace with Venoms, he's winning this race. It looks like you have it as well. The tires will only come towards him in the last few laps, but the elephant in the room is amazing error. He may not be in this race in terms of the battle for the race win with that extra penalty, but he's got so much raw speed that he can challenge Lars, and if Lars can't hold on, then maybe Amazing Hour can play a team game and try and engineer this for Venom. It's 2 against 1 at the front because M Short's not there, so Lars is essentially a lone wolf here against Venom and Amazing Hour. Can he hold on to this one? His pace looks so strong, but he's making a mistake. They're turn 16 and now Amazing Hour's right on him.
Yeah, an Amazing Hour's going to have DRS surely coming onto this next lap. He won't have it down towards turn 3 because there's only one detection point for those 2 straights. But he is close enough now to start challenging the Williams in front. That is the last thing Lars needs, is a battle with Amazing Hour on track. That's only going to cost him more time. And like you say, can the Mercedes team engineer this so that this plays into Venom's favour? Amazing Hour is all but out of this race victory unless something happens to our top 2 in this race. Jurassic, meanwhile, in 4th place is just losing time on those hard tyres, which are surely cooked after that spin. He's now 5.5 seconds behind. Amazing Hour is nearly out of penalty range. And the Mercedes man in front further down, Andreas has gone for for the move on Scott Bugner into turn 3 and gets the move done. So he's back up into 9th place. Can he try and re-chase that battle in front as Quiza gets another penalty in the racing point? So can he try and get back up and fight for that 8th place in this race? Zaldimer further back is still closing in on these guys, but just not quite close enough really to capitalise on the driver's penalties in front. Still too far back as there's another yellow flag in sector 3. I think that might be Vax Viking again in this race. Look at Amazing Hour though, the gap's already down to 0.3 of a second.
His pace has been phenomenal, there's no other word for it. He has just been so incredibly quick, and that mistake has cost him so dearly. Even with 6 extra penalties, I think he still wins this race with sheer raw pace. But now the question is, can Lars hold on to this in a way that's keeping his hopes alive? Maybe his best bet is to not fight Amazing Hour, because battling's going to cost them dearly. So how are they going to play this one? Mercedes right on the back of Williams, powering in a turn 2, and now surely Lars under pressure. Amazing Hour gaining on him. What does Lars do? He sticks to the outside lane. Amazing Hour doesn't go for it just yet, and Lars survives another day, but for how much longer can he survive? With the Mercedes chasing him down and piling the pressure on. He's maintaining that gap to Venoms. On paper, he has enough pace for this one, but ultimately, as it stands, he's not winning this race unless he can manage to get that upper hand of Amazing Hour. So Amazing Hour is going to chase him down, but is he going to play that team game then? Has the Williams all lined up? Does LR Amazing Hour with Venom still at the front as race, looking for the race victory here? We're coming up now on 4 laps to go, and can Lars hold on to this one? 1.4 seconds is the advantage that he has. Amazing Hour though, I think it's too far away yet again. He doesn't have the ERS. Lars doesn't either, but he's just too far away. Can't dive, and Lars surviving another day. And the longer he can stay ahead, the more chance he has of staying within that 3-second window that he needs of the race leader Venom.
Yeah, the last thing Lars needs is a mistake out of turn 12. That is where Amazing Hour has been so strong all race long. The run towards 13, that Mercedes is incredibly strong. But Lars gets a great run out of 16 this time around. He's far enough ahead of Amazing Hour that he's not going to challenge him towards turn 1. Does Amazing Hour think of a move though in towards turn 3? That Mercedes is so fast in a straight line, and look how close he is coming out of turn 2. This is an opportunity for Amazing Hour. Lars is going to defend to the inside line. Amazing Hour is going to try and break leg and go all the way around the outside. Lars is going to try and force him onto the curb. Amazing Hour still down the inside, loses the rear of the car, and Lars just holds on to the place coming out of turn 4. Great defensive driving from Lars, great racing from Amazing Hour. It nearly worked, but not quite. Lars just holds on to second place. I thought that was him losing the car, but that's the AlphaTauri moving out the way. Lars holds on to second place, then Amazing Hour really trying the move. Great defensive driving though from Lars in second place.
Let's see how much longer you see. Amazing Hour. Why, oh my! How on earth he still kept that alive out of 10? That was such a huge slide, and somebody's held on to it, but he's given Lars that little advantage that he's going to need to be survived yet again in a turn 13. Coming up now, 3 laps to go. The gap is slowly extending. Venom's charging, and he's got, I think, an ERS advantage. A slender one, though, so he may not be able to use that to full effect. So Venom's going to have to really push for this one. Can he find more pace in these final few laps? Amazing Hour still chasing down. He's got slight ERS advantage now on Lars, so can he use that to good effect then? He uses his battery now, punching off the last corner. So Lars, though, is going to have to look over his shoulder, check both mirrors, and make sure that the Australian isn't going to get that move done. They fly it through turns 1 and 2, and the Williams again is clear. He is doing everything he needs to do, and he's keeping Amazing Hour behind. That's what Amazing Hour would have got it by now, but the defensive driving has been brilliant from Lars, and he's keeping it alive, and he's looking for this race with 2.5 laps to go. Can Lars hold on to this?
The gap is still 1.8 despite that battle last lap. He's just kept it stagnant under 2 seconds. Venom's not doing enough at the moment. He's really going for it. He's just not got enough raw speed. Meanwhile, further back, Scott Bugner's re-overtaken Andreas around the outside of turn 4. That is a brilliant move, but can Andreas get the move done back towards turn 5? Tries to stick it around the outside. There's just not enough room for 2 cars through there, and Scott is back up into 9th place ahead of Andreas. Great move for the McLaren driver. Andreas really struggling. Almost hard compound tyres now, and Zadimer's now only 7.5 seconds back. He's really closing in, and I think is within penalty range now of the 2 drivers in front. It's really going well for Zadimer in the second half of this race at the front of the field. Venom 1.5 seconds ahead. The cap is coming down slightly in the middle part of the lap. Lars is closing in as now Zadimer picks up a penalty. As I say that, the cleanest man on the grid has just picked up a penalty, so that is him possibly out of contention of being inside the top 10. out of the final corner. Lars, 1.6 seconds. Amazing Hours just behind. He's on his ERS trying to think about maybe making Lars make a mistake into turn 1. He's got great straight line speed. Has he got enough momentum through turns 1 and 2? Lars is wide. Just about holds on to the car. Amazing Hour with another run towards turn 3, but this time around I don't think he's quite close enough. Lars thinks about defending it, but Amazing Hour just not enough straight for him to pull that off. And Venom actually made a mistake, I think, 2-1 and 2, because Lars is now only 1.2 seconds behind.
This is remarkable from Lars and Venoms. You said he's running out of ideas. He needs his teammate to possibly even play dirty here. But at the moment, Lars would be a thoroughly deserving winner of this race, and he is defended absolutely valiantly, and he's back in the DRS range now. So now all of a sudden, Venoms, that charge he was on has come undone, and now Lars is pretty much with him, can use the DRS to defend from Amazing Hour behind, but Amazing Hour's right on him this time, heading into turns 11 and 12. How confident are the pair of them, heading through the A's, and Amazing Hour gets a brilliant run, and is now chasing him down. This could be his last chance of getting second on the road. Lars covers late to the inside, back up to the outside. Amazing Hour sweeping the long way around at turn 13, still there's a contact, they come together, unbelievable, and Amazing Hour out the race. Lars round, and Venoms now has the gap that he needs. Oh my, they come together, and that's not how you want to see the race decided. Amazing Hour out the running, Lars now out the window that he needs to be. It's difficult to read that one. I think Amazing Hour drifted right, and Lars drifted left. We're getting a closer look at that, but now Venoms has this race win. What a huge development in this race. Venoms on for this one, but you have to feel for Lars. What a gutting way for the race to slip away. There's no chance of her getting back now.
That is such a shame with a lap to go. It was all going well, so well for Lars. Amazing Hour just lost the rear of the car on the curb. No real fault placed on anyone there, you just gotta say. Amazing Hour just unfortunate on the traction, lost the rear of the car, slid into the side of Lars, and Lars spun in sympathy really with Amazing Hour after an incredible combat drive from Amazing Hour after that spin earlier as well. He is not gonna finish this race. What a gutting way for his race to end as well. Jurassic all of a sudden is back on the podium. Lars, I think, is gonna do just enough to hold on to the podium with the fact that he hasn't got a penalty, but now Venom 7 seconds up the road. It's all played into his hands on the final lap of the race. It looked like it was over for Venom in this one, but it's all played into his hands beautifully as he comes through turn 13, and Lars does pick up a penalty on the final lap of the race, and now Jurassic's trying to get second place on the road around the outside of turn 13. Can he get the move done? There's contact between the two of them. Jurassic, I think, is going to try and get this move done around 14, but Lars is trying desperately to hold on. Venom's round the final corner. He's coming up to line. Jurassic has got second place on the road. Venom is the first race winner of the EML Formula 1 Championship. Jurassic does get second place on the road. Lars with a penalty on the final lap is going to cross the line in third place. Gutting way for his race to end. He holds third though, ahead of Foxy Red, who gets fourth in the end in the Renault, ahead of M Short in fifth. Vettel drops to sixth, having crossed the line in fourth. Creaser ahead of Scott Bugner. Andreas finishes in ninth. Where is Aldemir relative to these guys? Because he gain anything? He gains ninth off of Andreas and just misses out on eighth place on the McLaren driver in front. What an absolutely chaotic race for the first round of the season. So many people could have won that race, and in the end, the man who was so unlikely to win it 2 laps ago won the race in the end. Venom wins by a comfortable margin.
That was remarkable. Simply remarkable, and you have to feel for Lars. I think on second thought, he didn't do anything wrong in that situation. Just getting on the curve, as you mentioned, for Amazing Hour, spitting him out into the side of him. I'm sure Amazing Hour was not intending for that, but it's just the sad reality of racing. Venom's, he drove phenomenally all race long, but that penalty was going to cost him until that penultimate lap. Jurassic somehow second place. He spun as well during the race and ends up with P2 as well. I'm lost for words. That was simply stunning.
And if that is the first round of the season at Australia, a track that traditionally, apparently doesn't provide good racing, this track, apparently it doesn't provide good racing. We've got the rest of the season to go. What a season we've got ahead of us. So many drivers with such great potential, when that is not the podium I was expecting in that race. In the end, the people that we both predicted to have good race, I think we cursed them in the end, because neither of them ended up on the podium. It just didn't go either one of their ways in that one, and Venom then gets first blood in the Mercedes. He gets 30 points for the first round of the the season. What a drive from him, having looked like he wasn't going to win that race 2 laps before the end. He ends up taking the victory. Jurassic crossing the line in second. I think maybe the only driver in that race to not pick up a penalty despite spinning towards the end of the race. Great recovery drive from him. Lars, what a shame, had that race in the bag almost from the early phase of this race. Ever since the pit stops, it looked so much like it was going to be his race victory, and just an unfortunate incident with Amazing Hour at the end of the race cost him the opportunity to take the first race victory of the season. Foxy Red, after an amazing battle at the start of this race, looked like he dropped himself out of contention, ends up with a 4th place finish after a well-timed pit stop under the virtual safety car. Great recovery from him. M Short in 5th place. What could have been for him, he just lost pace midway through and just couldn't keep up with the top runners. Vettel drops the 6th on penalties at a creaser. Scott Bugner, Zalma and Andreas finishes inside the top 10. Neo in 11th place had a Killua. Hercules, Casper, Stay Calm, Faxland, Amazing Hour retiring from the race. Vax Viking a lap down. Verderana and Neymar retiring from the race fairly early on in proceedings as well. What a crazy race that was. What a topsy-turvy race that was. It's first blood to Venom, but he has got some contenders in this championship moving forward.
Wow. Yeah, that race was just... It got thrown on a knife edge so many times, and our perception of the race changed so many times. So many events changed the front of it and the course of it. But in the end, it was Venoms that came out on top. The question is, though, can he sustain that form throughout the season? I think we're going to see a lot of different contenders. We saw... We put M Short forward as a name. His race pace just didn't seem to be what we'd expect for him. Amazing Hour made a couple of mistakes throughout that race that cost him dearly, and in the end, of course, coming to blows with Lars just a lap from the end. And Venom's essentially just stayed out of trouble, did what he needed to do. But I don't think he's going to quite sustain that throughout the entire season. We'll see, of course, but I think we're going to see a lot of different contenders and a lot of drivers in better form next week.
You definitely got to say that, yeah. And while he did have that penalty as well for Venoms, it wasn't like it was a lack of speed and luck that got him the race victory. He was leading that on track without the penalty. He had a great opportunity of winning that race on raw speed as well. So he is definitely going to be a full contender for the rest of the season, as are many drivers in this championship. Before we round off today, though, Dan, who is your driver of the day today? You've got a lot of choices. Who is it going to be?
You know, I actually thought of this after the slightly after the race, and to be honest, I've narrowed it down to Jiraze. I'd still say Lars, and also Foxy Red. I think I personally think it's between those three. Venoms, again, I think he was quite I think in a way he was quite fortunate to win that race. Like I said, drove brilliantly, thoroughly deserves a race win, but there were some circumstances that favoured him. If I were to pick anyone, I'd probably say Jirazi, actually, because I don't think he was really at fault for that incident with Lars, and he fought back. He managed to pick up that 2nd place in the last lap with a brilliant, brave move, it must be said, to get that done. And I think he's thoroughly deserved those points. And yeah, from 7th on the grid, he's a very worthy podium sitter and drove almost perfectly today.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to agree with you on that one. Despite that spin, I think, I fully agree with you that there wasn't really much he could have done to avoid that spin, and it's a great recovery afterwards as well. Big shout out to Foxy Red on that alternate strategy. A well-timed pit stop that obviously played fortunate for him, but he made that 2nd stint work for him and got less penalties than a lot of drivers around him, and that played into his hands. Got to give a shout out to Venom as well, despite being fortunate. What great pace he had in that race as well, to be leading the majority of the second half of that race. But what a way to start off a new championship on League Racing TV. I cannot wait for the rest of this season. It is going to be so interesting to watch. Next week, next Wednesday, we head to Bahrain for the 2nd round of the season, a track that is known for great racing. I'm sure it's going to be a cracker of a race. You guys have got to tune into that one this time next week. Myself and Dan will be back at 8 PM next week, tuning in for the 2nd round of the season. Tune in to League Racing TV as well for the rest of the week. Divisions 2 and 3 are taking place tomorrow. Divisions 4 and 5 for the regular TTML season are taking place on Friday, and League Racing TV is back next week on Tuesday with the TTML Division 1 Championship. So look out for those. My word, what a way to start off the championship. But from myself and Daka, it is thank you very much for tuning in, and we will see you this time next week. Goodbye.